Okay, start smelling that chlorine, then you know that that's all through your lines in your rig. So now we're just gonna wait. Ninette's done the same inside. We're just gonna wait for 4 hours. Welcome to Tigner Adventures. My name's David, my wife Ninette, and our little cat Tansy. We live in our motorhome full time, and we only have a couple weeks left before we leave. And so one of the things that you need to do on a normal maintenance type of a period, at least once a year, if not twice a year, is to sanitize your fresh water tank. And so I have my book out right here. It's actually made for, it came with my rig, and all of you have something normally, and it's going to actually talk about how to sanitize your rig. Now in my particular case, I'm going to tell you what it says, and it's pretty much the same on all rigs, but some of you have a gravity fed tank that you fill up, and some of you have where you have to hook your hose up to fill your tank up. They do make an adapter that you can buy if you want, and you can put your chlorine stuff into here to actually fill up your tank with. Another friend of mine actually just crushes up the chlorine tablets and sticks it in the hose and then sticks it on there to do that. So there's ways of getting around trying to get the water and the sanitation into your tanks. But if I look here in my book, it has a section on here that's on disinfecting fresh water system, and it says to prepare a chlorine solution. So it's a 1/4 cup of chlorine bleach for every 15 gallons of the size of your water tank. Mix into a 1 gallon jug of water just to kind of dilute it in there, so when I pour it in, it's not just pouring straight chlorine into my pipes. That gives us a mixture of 50 parts per million of residue in the tank, and then you're supposed to let that sit there for 4 hours. But before you do that, you need to run all your faucets. It's best to drain your hot water heater before you start, and then fill that back up with that water, and so it's going through your whole system, and then you're going to let it sit for 4 hours. Now they do have a speed up process that if you need to have it done sooner, you can do the 100 parts per million. So you're going to double that solution and let it sit in there for at least an hour. So I've done it both ways. The thing that you really want to be careful of is getting too much chlorine in the system, because once it's in there and it's sitting, it's soaking into those pipes and things. It kind of sticks in your system. It hangs on things. Whoops. And that's what is making it sanitize everything. So that's good, but then the more you put in, the longer it takes to flush your system out to get that chlorine taste back out of the water. So you don't want to do it too much. It does give us a warning here not to put too much in, because you can damage your system, and so you don't want that to happen. I've had people that have cleaned out their water jugs, and they've put so much disinfectant stuff into the water jugs that they were pretty much useless after that. We could never get that even the soapy taste out of the water, so it's just always there. So you don't want that to happen within your rig. So follow the directions in your manual. A 1/4 cup per 15 gallons is not a lot, and you'll be just fine. But when you run the water into your house, you still will smell it. You'll smell that chlorine smell. So it's enough that you can smell it, but leave it there for 4 hours, and then we're going to go ahead and flush the system. All right, I am draining my water tank. This way we can pump in the chlorine water back into it, and make sure that gets sanitized also. If you want to know how to clean your tank and everything, then I got a slide over here. No, it was this one. I always get this mixed up. But look right here for a video on how I actually did this, and as far as cleaning out the hot water heater, replacing anode rods, things like that, how that actually works, then you'll have an idea how that all works. All right, so I have my chlorine right here. I have a gallon jug, okay? I have a funnel, which I need to get to be able to pour it into the rig and also into this little jar. and I have a measuring cup. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna fill up this cup. We have 70 gallons or 75 gallons, somewhere in there, of water is what our fresh water holds. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put in 1 1/4 cup of chlorine into this. So 1 1/4. Now, it doesn't have to be really exact. The key is to not get too much in there, but you know, you're just gonna let it sit there for a while, and so that's gonna sanitize and kill off any things that might be growing in your tank. So hopefully there's nothing growing in your tank, but anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and I've got my hose right here, so I'm gonna put some water in this jug so I don't pour just chlorine straight into it. And then I'm going to pour that into the jug. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I've got water in my jug right here, and I'm going to just pour the chlorine in there with this funnel. Now, this just isn't any funnel. This is a food grade funnel, so just don't go use your automobile oil filter funnel, and that's not probably the best thing to do. Just a word to the wise. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just fill this up the rest of the way. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. Now, this is a little slower process because this is a small funnel. All right. Now mine's gravity fed, so it's a little harder to get it in because of that. I'm gonna just wash. I did spill a little bit here, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and fill this up. And then when this actually gets full of water, then I'll turn on the water pump inside, and we'll start pumping it through the lines until we can smell chlorine everywhere. Now I like to, it's got about 1/4 tank of water in here right now. So I'm putting the chlorine in, and then I'm gonna fill it the rest of the way up. And I like to do it that way so that this water going in kind of flushes the chlorine added in there around and gets it all mixed in the water really well. And so that's why I don't just do it on a full tank to start with. You know, start off with like 1/4 tank, 1/2 tank, something like that, and then fill it up the rest of the way. And then that way it gets a good mixture. Okay. Start smelling that chlorine, then you know that that's all through your lines in your rig. So now we're just gonna wait. Ninette's done the same inside. We're just gonna wait for 4 hours or 5, whatever we can, whatever time frame. I don't know what else we're gonna do between now and then, but at least 4 hours, and let it sanitize and everything do its thing. Now I have people tell me that they always just drink bottled water when they're in their rig, and they never ever use the actual water in their tank to drink out of. I guess that's okay. But in our particular case, you know, we don't like buying bottled water. We do when we're here in Arizona because the water from the tap has a salty mineral content to it. And so we do buy bottled water. You know, it's 50 cents for 5 gallons, so not too big a deal. Not compared to in the store, you know, if I'm buying all those little things that I gotta, you know, throw away or, you know, discard of and everything. It's kind of a hassle to buy those big cases of water to carry around and everything. So we always drink the water out of our tank, and we have always drank the water. We've just done this sanitation process. And you know, if you get to the point where you really don't like doing that, then there is an option. If you look at this video by a friend of mine, Brian from RVing with Tito, he actually did a review on a ultraviolet system that sanitizes the water and kills anything, all the germs and things like that. And if you watch the video with Jim when we cleaned his hot water tank out, he actually just got back from Mexico. He spent 2 months in Mexico, and he actually has one of those systems, and he used that the whole time he was down there, and he just drank the water from his tap. So you know, you don't have to go buy bottled water if you don't want to. Okay, so while the sanitation process is doing its little job, it's got to sit there for 4 hours, I'm going to go ahead and change out some of my filters. Now, I don't want to change out, I have 2 filter systems. I've got one that's on the outside when I fill up my system, and I've got one in underneath my sink. I don't want to change the one under the sink yet until I get all the chlorine flushed out. Then I'll go ahead and change that one. So this is the filter system, 2-stage filter system that I have that I use to fill up my rig. I have a water pressure regulator on the side here that makes it so no more than 40 psi of pressure is in the line at any one time. And then I have these 2 filters that use these types of filters. This one here is a paper filter. It's just collecting particles and stuff, sand, whatever junk that's in the water. And then this side over here is a carbon filter that's actually taken out like chlorine and things like that. Both of those go down to 0.5 micron, and so they do a pretty decent job. You don't want to go much smaller than that, because if you do, then it makes it that much harder on your RV pump. All right, so to undo these, you just need a wrench that's made for those. You just kind of lift this up. Now, some people put these on really hard. I've had some that were really tough to get off, and I've had others that weren't very tough at all. So you just have to snug it up. I keep telling people, snug things up. Of course, the first thing you want to do is take off the pressure of the line. So I turn the water off and drain the hose. And I'm just going to go ahead and take this off. And if you look in here, you can see that this filter has been collecting a lot of junk if you compare this one to this one. Okay, so there's a lot of big difference there, and this is stuff that hasn't been going into our water tank, and we haven't had to worry about it. Now, this water system, these are just standard ones like what you get in the house and everything. Anyway, so this is just a tube, and it's just going to go into here. There is a center piece in there that goes into the center of this. So I'm just going to set that down in there until it falls into place. And then I'm going to hold this so it's just straight up, and I'm just going to put it right back up onto there. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get it started, but there it is. And I'm just going to kind of snug it just a little bit. I just barely turned it about an extra 1/8 of a turn. There is a gasket that's up inside there, and so it's just compressing on that gasket. So there's no sense to get too wild. Again, you're just kind of snugging it, and then at that point you're going to, when you turn the water on, you'll test it for any leaks. So we're going to go ahead and do that same thing with this other one. That was even easier to turn. I'm always interested in knowing what these look like inside, after they've been sitting there for a while. So that one looks pretty dirty, but it's, remember, it's got charcoal in it, so it's going to look black. Okay, water looks nice in there. And we're going to go ahead and take this one out. Now, these are different prices, and they're just like the ones you get for, other ones like this for home or whatever. It's not just RV specific. Now, one thing you got to make sure is when you pull this out, it does have this little rubber gasket here. You need to make sure that both of those come out. If it leaves one in there, and when you go to put this one in that's got them, then you will have nothing but trouble, and you'll eventually find it to fix the problem. So anyway, that's just doing that little seal there. So we're going to do the same thing here. And that's about as hard as it gets to replacing those. I'm just going to snug it up. And it is ready to pressurize and test for leaks. Okay, that filled up with water. One thing I forgot to mention is that we need to run this because this has got a bunch of carbon in it. And so we need to run all the black out of there. Get all the air, see all that black water coming out. So that's all the carbon. That's just like when you change it in your, at home, if you change it in a refrigerator or anything like that, you're supposed to run a few gallons of water through it to kind of wash out all the stuff. Okay, it's been over 4 hours now, and what we need to do is to drain our tank This is my access to my tank. If I open that up, I can see my water tank in there, and I can look in there. My water pump's in there. But down below here, if you look back in here, I need to turn this over just a little bit. I actually have a couple valves in here, and what these are is they're drain valves. One's for the line and one's for the tank, and they're what they call a low point drain. And so the tank is completely full of water, and it's got the chlorine in there, and so are my lines full of water. So what I'm going to do is open both of those up. I'm going to drain all the water out. I'm going to go ahead and open up my hot water heater and drain that again. And then what I'll do is two times I'm going to fill up this tank completely, and while it's filling up, I'm going to turn the pump on and start running water through some of the other lines, just to kind of get it to flush out that chlorine. And then once this is all the way filled up, then I'll turn it and open it up again and let it drain again. And then I'll fill it all the way back up again and do the same thing, you know, just to kind of get that out of there. Now, you may end up when you're done, especially if you do the 100 parts per million option, you may have, it's going to take a little bit more to flush that out. But over a little bit, that'll finally, you won't smell that chlorine anymore. But as far as drinking, it's safe to drink at that point. I mean, it's not going to cause any issues, and it's just got a little bit of an odor to it, but it's just leaching it back out of the plastic and kind of cleaning it up. So anyway, it's not going to hurt you or anything. So, but we're going to go ahead and do this, and then at some point we'll get it all nice and clean, and it'll just smell nice and fresh. Okay, we are done sanitizing our rig. Everything went well, and the only thing I actually have left to do is I've got to replace this filter that goes underneath the sink. This is an inline filter. We put this on our cold water side, and then that way whatever else is just sitting in the tank gets filtered with this. So this is nice because it's got a 1/2 inch connection on this side, pipe connection, and a 1/2 inch on this side. So that just replaces the filter that originally came with the unit. It's not there, you know, it's not a Holiday Rambler filter, but this is just a standard filter that actually you just buy. I actually buy this on Amazon, but you can buy it at Home Depot or wherever. So they're not difficult to come by, and you don't have to go to the RV store or something like that. So anyway, I'll put this in myself, and that completes the little sanitizing project here, and one more step for us getting back on the road. We got several here we're working on, so we'll have several videos coming out that show different things we're doing, including our remodel. We're almost done with that too, and so we'll be working on all those different things. So thanks for joining us. We'll just plan on seeing you guys down the road somewhere, and if not, maybe hopefully it'll be on our next video. So take care, and we'll see you down the road.